Also, join us for Wednesday night. We started a new series on how to get more out of your Bible study. I don't know. Have you ever read the Bible and I don't understand anything I've just read? Ever been there? So join us Wednesday nights, and we're going through a series on how do I get more and where do I go? And so we'd love to have you join us for that. So has anyone ever felt like your friends, those who love you, have lied to you? Or not felt like? How many of you know they did? Okay? All right? I'm sure, I won't ask for a raise of hand, but I'm sure no one in here has ever lied themselves, right? Yeah, okay. I'll let you okay, yeah. I want to talk this morning about Deceptive Nuts. That's what we're series dealing with nuts. And so let's just review just a little bit. We are all different. Everybody has a different background, and that's part of what makes the church, right? We all have our own habits, hang-ups, and hurts, our own issues that we're all dealing with. And the issue is not what's your problem, okay? That's very important. It's not about, hey, what kind of nut are you and what is your issue? The issue is, are you coming to God? Are you letting God change you? Are you letting God work on you? And so, really, the church is just a bunch of mixed nuts, right? The world we live in is a bunch of mixed nuts. We're all different. Some of you are a little saltier than others, right? And so this morning, what we want to continue our series on, the first week we talked about, and we kind of opened this up, what is the embodiment of the church? The embodiment means the whole, the completeness. Well, the complete church is just a bunch of mixed nuts. And we're together, and that's what that is what makes the church beautiful. Is the fact that one, we're all different. Two, we all have issues. Because you know what? In spite of our issues, guess who makes us perfect and whole? God. Right? So we talked about dysfunctional nuts. We talked about that sometimes we're so focused on the rules and we forget about people. And then we're called to love people. Sometimes we expect those outside the church to act like the ones who are supposed to be inside the church, right? And Jesus points this out to the Pharisees. And he points out, he references a verse in Hosea 6:6. I want you to show love, not offer sacrifices. I want you to know me more than I want burnt offerings. And he's not saying the rules don't matter. He's saying that without love, the rest of it doesn't matter. Okay? Love, you've got to have love. That's the centerpiece. That's the most important part. And then we looked at, because he references another passage in the Old Testament, a story with David. In Matthew chapter 12, verse 3, Jesus said to them, haven't you read in the scriptures when when he broke in and his companions were hungry, they went into the house of God, and he and his companions broke the law by eating the sacred loaves of bread that only the priests are allowed to eat. And so we went back a little further to set up that part of the story. And last week, we talked about those determined nuts, right? The nuts that are they are gung-ho, they're going to do what they're going to do, and sometimes they knock everybody out of the way, they make a blazing trail, and that can be dangerous too. Sometimes they believe, and we can believe, that if other people win, we lose, right? And that's a bad idea. We have to think win-win. And I reference this, you remember shark versus dolphins? Okay? Sharks are out for themselves, dolphins care for each other. And so we have to have that mentality of, if my neighbor wins, that does not mean I can't win. I should rejoice when they win. I should rejoice when they succeed. We talked about how sometimes we're focused on other things and other people, and when we do that, we can't focus on God. Our focus is divided. And we saw that Saul was so focused on David, 1 Samuel 18:28. When Saul realized that the Lord was with David and how much his daughter Michal loved him, Saul became even more afraid of him, and he remained David's enemy for the rest of his life. So let's go to part 3, deceptive nuts. So grab your lipstick, mascara, pen, paper, colored pencil, you need to write with, you've got it all in your notes, and let's walk through it together. And I hope you're ready. Because this morning we're actually going to travel through 2 chapters of Samuel to help our illustrator point this morning. So we're going to skip chapter 20, okay? And we're going to come back to that next week as part of our message. But there are several tribes in the Bible. There's several tribes that are out there. And so you understand where and who everyone is, I want to make sure that you've all got them down, okay? So how many of you have heard an area called the Gaza Strip? Understand that? Okay, that is on the coast of the Mediterranean, and it's south of Israel. This is where the Philistines are located. Okay, mental picture, got it? If you go, then Israel's above them. If you go to the north of Israel is the Phoenician state. These are where the Greeks are. Okay, got it? Now we're going to kind of go clockwise. Okay, got it? Just to the next to the Phoenician state is the kingdom of Damascus. Okay, you've heard that, the kingdom of Damascus. That would be present-day Syria. Okay? Then just south of them is the Ammonites. How many of you heard of the Ammonites before you read through? Okay, let me help you understand this. The Ammonites are the descendants of Lot's younger daughter. Okay, does that help? Okay, go south of them just a little bit, and you have the Moabites. The Moabites are the descendants of Lot's older daughter. Got it? Okay, go down just a little bit more. Kind of, you're off to the Dead Sea, that area there. I should have put a map up there, but I didn't. Sorry. You have the Edomites. The Edomites are the descendants of Esau. Help? Yes? Esau. What is Esau's brother's name? Jacob. Who's his descendants? The Israelites. Okay? So you understand, picture where we're at. You have this faction here that's going, and we know that later in Scripture, after Solomon, Israel actually breaks up into two, right? Okay? And you have the nation of Israel, and then you have Judah. And Judah is Judah and Benjamin. Okay? And the other 10 tribes are, so everybody kind of get a picture now of what you've got. Why is that important? Because later the Edomites are going to come into play in the story. So here we go. David is running from Saul. He is trying not to die. Saul has already attempted to kill him several times. 1 Samuel 21:5. David went to the town of Nob to see Ahimelech the priest. Ahimelech trembled when he saw him. "Why are you alone?" he asked. "Why is no one with you?" "The king has sent me on a private matter," David said. "He told me not to tell anyone why I'm here. I have told my men where to meet me later." Question, is that the truth? Come on, you should know this. Did the king send him? No. Why? The king is trying to kill him. Is the king sending him on a mission? No. David is running because he knows the king is trying to kill him. So he tells the priest a lie. Why? Because if he told the priest the truth, there'd be a whole different story that happens. He tells the priest a lie. Now, there are 3 types of lies, really. All lies can be boiled down to 3 types. You have a lie of commission. A lie of commission. This is, you know it's a lie, and you tell it anyway. Now, it can be for various reasons, for denial, fabrication. You're distorting the truth. You're exaggerating. You're just trying to make someone believe someone else. But you know it's a lie, and you tell it. Okay, a lie of commission. Then you have a lie of omission, which is you tell part of the truth. I have always told my kids, a half-truth is a whole lie. Okay? You can't give half the truth and then it just be like, oh, I told the truth. You did, but you left out part because you wanted the other person to believe or to think something. So it's a lie of omission. You left something out. Then you have a lie of influence. This is a lie that says, well, listen, don't you trust me? We've known each other for years. And so you really don't address or answer the question. It's just a lie of, hey, listen, you should know me. You should know that I tell the truth. Got it? Now, you're trying to remove suspicion. You're trying to use your status as trustworthy with. Which one of the lies did David tell? He told all 3. He deliberately deceived. He left out part of the story. And then he tried to use the king and his status as, hey, I'm here, right? All 3 he did in one fell swoop because he was trying to get the priest to believe a certain side of the story. Got it? Verse 3. Now, what is there to eat? Give me 5 loaves of bread or anything else you have. We don't have any regular bread, the priest replied. There's only the holy bread. which you can have if your young men have not slept with any women recently. Don't worry, David replied. I never allow my men to be with women when we're on a campaign. And since they stay clean even on ordinary trips, how much more? He's just piling on the lie. How much more on this one? Since there's no other food available, the priest gave him the holy bread. The bread of the presence was placed before the Lord in the tabernacle. It had just been replaced with that day with fresh bread. Now, you need to understand this. The holy bread, or what was called the showbread, was sacred bread. Not anyone was allowed to eat it. Matter of fact, let's go Leviticus chapter 22, verse 9. The priest must follow my instructions carefully, otherwise they will be punished for their sin and will die for violating my instructions. You can underline that part. This is a very serious consequence. It says, listen, if you violate the law, death. I am the Lord who makes them holy. Verse 10. No one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offering. Was David outside the priest's family? Okay. Even guests and hired workers when a priest's home are not allowed to eat them. Verse 15. The priest must not let the Israelites defile the sacred offerings brought to the Lord. By allowing unauthorized people to eat them, this would bring guilt upon them and require them to pay compensation. I am the Lord that makes them holy. Now, understand this. The priest and David both knew the rules. This wasn't well, I didn't know, God. No one explained it to me. No, they knew the rules. They understood the rules. And both of them broke the rules. Here's what you need to know about deception. Deception always deviates. Deception deviates. It takes you down a path you never intended to go. And it takes others with you. I don't know who said it first, but some of you may have heard this. Sin always takes you farther than you want to go, keeps you longer than you want to stay, and costs you more than you want to pay. And that's exactly what happened here. You're going to see as we get to the story. Look at verse 7. Now, Doeg, the Edomite, remember the Edomites? Okay, the Edomites are Esau's, right? And they are kind of related, but listen, what you need to understand about all these tribes and all these different things, they went from war to peace constantly. Constantly. They would one time the Edomites and the Israelites would fight. Then they'd fight the Moabites. Then they'd fight the Amalekites. Then they'd fight, and they were always fighting. And then there'd be a time of peace. And then there'd be well, we'll be friends and we'll have a little, thing. So they're always going back and forth. So understand that's happening in this play. Now, Doeg the Edomite, Saul's chief herdsman, was there that day, having been detained before the Lord. Why was he detained? We don't know. It's a possibility that David, because David came and talked to the priest, that David is the one detaining him. Because now the priest is focusing on David and not taking care of him. There's a possibility of that. But here's what we know. Deception always delays. Deception delays. It causes other people problems. It delays their journey, their encounter, their trust, their pursuit of God. It delays your encounter with God. It always puts, it's the difference between taking the interstate and taking all the back roads, and you didn't have to go that way. I've heard people say this, and it's one of the most frustrating statements I hear. I guess I'll have to learn the hard way. To me, just make a stamp and put stupid across your head. You don't have to learn the hard way. Other people have already learned it. Why would you listen, I have to learn it for myself. Stupid. You don't. Listen, do you have to learn that the stove is hot? No, because someone else already figured that out. I don't need to burn myself to figure that out. Yet how many times do we look and go, well, no, I don't. Really what it is this. I don't want people to tell me what to do. And I'll deal with the consequences and I don't really care. When what should be our goal, listen, I want to avoid as many delays as possible so I can make it safely to my destination. Let's keep going. Verse 8. David asked Ahimelech, do you have a spear or a sword? The king's business was so urgent that I didn't even have time to grab a weapon. Is that true? No, he's lying again. I only have the sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Etam, the priest replied. It's wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. Take that if you want it, for there's nothing else. There's nothing like it, David replied. Give it to me. Because deception always demands. Deception always demands. I need this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. When you deceive someone or when someone deceives you, what is their goal? They really want to control. They want to control the narrative. They want to control the story. They want fake news out there, right? Because they want to control what's being told. The truth is, guess what? None of us are in control. Only one person is in control. God. Listen, we are not in control. And listen, just think about this. When you try to control what you're not in control of, who are you trying to rob control from? God. We think I'm trying to let everybody else see what I see. In reality, we're trying to get them to have our idea, our mentality. And guess what? What you're really doing is you're robbing control from God. Now, I don't know about you, but I really don't want to rob anything from God. Okay? Let's keep going. Verse 10. So David escaped from Saul and went to the king Achish in Gath. But the officers of Achish were unhappy about him being there. Now, why would they be unhappy about David being in Gath? Who's from Gath? I don't know, he's really tall. Lost his head to a guy named David with a slingshot. Goliath is from Gath. Think about this. David has Goliath's sword and goes to the Philistine camp to hang out. Would they be uncomfortable with that? Uh-huh. But they always go, remember, we're going back from war to peace to war to peace. And so, get this in your mindset. The enemy of my enemy is my what? Friend. Who's the Philistine enemy? Is it David? Who's the king? Saul. Who hates David? Saul. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The Philistines know that David hates Saul. Or Saul hates David. So David must be a friend. Do you have to like your friends? Not always, right? You have to love them. You may not always like them. Let's go, verse 11. But the officers of Achish were unhappy about him being there. Isn't this David, the king of the land, they asked? Isn't he the one the people honor with dances, singing, Saul has killed thousands and David his 10,000s? David heard these comments. He was very afraid for what King Achish of Gash might do to him. So he pretended to be insane, scratching on doors, drooling on his beard. Finally, King Achish said to his men, must you bring me a madman? We already have enough of him around here. Why should I let someone like this be my guest? So basically, they're going to kick him out of the palace. Now again, is David telling the truth? No. Listen, if you trust God, you trust God. There's no reason to make up a story if you don't trust God. But here you have David, and if you look through this story and you understand it, what David is doing is this. He doesn't trust God. Has he been anointed king of Israel? Yes. So why would he doubt that God would anoint him king and then cause him to lose his life or cause him to suffer calamity? The issue is he's lost his trust. Here's the reason. Deception depends. Deception depends. It depends on circumstances. It depends on people. It depends on everything else. And you don't trust what you should be trusting. Because look, Samuel the prophet could not protect David. Jonathan the prince could not help David. Ahimelech the priest could not save David. Achish the Philistine did not want him. David must depend on deception to keep himself safe, and so he continues to deceive. Now, I don't know if you've figured this out, but if you've ever told a lie, and I will believe that none of you have ever told a lie. If you've ever told a lie, most of the time, it's not just one lie. Because you have to tell another lie so that that lie stays true. And then you have to tell another lie to make sure that, and you have to tell another lie. And usually what happens is you get caught because you don't remember what you told the first lie about. Here's what I love. If you tell the truth, you never have to worry about being caught up in what you said because it's always the truth. I never have to worry about, well, you said this. I know, because that's the truth. I never have to remember, well, what did I tell that person? What did I tell that person? And how did I make up this story? How'd that story go? Right? The truth is the truth. Let's keep going. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 9. Then Doeg the Edomite. Wait. Where do we know him from? Where do we know him from? He was there at the temple, right? He saw David with the priest. Now watch this. Then Doeg the Edomite, who was standing there with Saul's men, spoke up. When I was at Nob, he said, I saw the son of Jesse talking to the priest Ahimelech, son of Ahitub. Ahimelech consulted the Lord for him, and he gave him food and the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Whoo! Deception always divulges. Listen, somebody eventually is going to spill the beans. The truth is always going to come out. Someone, listen, parents, someone is always watching. Students, someone is always watching. Someone is watching your example, what you say, how you live your life. Someone is watching you. And if you're not careful, if you're not truthful, the truth will come out. Someone will always blab, tattle, betray, reveal what you wanted kept secret. Let's keep going, verse 11. King Saul immediately sent for Ahimelech and all of his family, who serve as priests at Nob. When they arrived, Saul shouted at him, "Listen to me, you son of a tub." Is he happy? No, he's not happy right now. He's mad. "What is it, my king?" Ahimelech asked. "Why have you and the son of Jesse conspired against me?" Saul demanded. "Why did you give him food and a sword? Why did you consult God for him?" Now, hold on, stop, pause for just a minute. Does Ahimelech know the truth? What did David tell him? The king sent me on a mission. So he has no idea why Saul's so mad. As far as he knows, listen, I did what I normally do. Well, look, verse 14. "But sir," Ahimelech replied, "is anyone among your servants as faithful as David, your son-in-law? Why, he's the captain of your bodyguard and a highly honored member of your household. This wasn't the first time I consulted God for him. May the king not accuse me and my family of this matter, for I knew nothing about this plot against you." Deception always divides. Deception divides. It breeds distrust. It breeds fear, anger, hatred, suffering. Let me ask you this question. When someone lies to you, is it difficult to trust that person again? Yes, because I don't know if you're going to tell me the truth. I have no idea if what you say or how you act is truthful. Again, problem. We want friends, we want people we can trust, yet we continually push them away. Why? Because we can't be truthful. Let me just, we worry a lot about what people think about us. Can I just give you a little encouragement? May one thing that people think about you always be they're truthful. So I don't care if you know everything about my life or who I am. Listen, there's mistakes, there's junk. It doesn't matter. We all have that stuff. Remember? We're all a bunch of mixed nuts. But may the one thing you say about me be this: I know that he's going to tell me the truth. I know I can trust him. I know no matter what, even if I don't like it, honey, does that dress make me look fat? It's not my favorite dress, That's how you answer that question, by the way. Listen, may the words out of my mouth always be honest and truthful. You may not always like them, but you know that when you ask me a question, when you come to me, I'm always going to tell the truth. May that be something that people say about us. Verse 16. You surely will die, Ahimelech, along with your entire family, the king shouted. And he ordered his bodyguards, kill these priests of the Lord, for they are allies and conspirators with David. They knew he was running away from me, but they didn't tell me. But Saul's men refused to kill the Lord's priests. Stop right there. That should tell you, Saul, immediately, something is wrong. Because here's the deal. You were not supposed to lay a hand on God's anointed. Listen, God anointed Saul king. That's king, okay? There's a whole different story when it comes to the priests. You didn't touch it. That was God's people. They were the ones who, and Saul says, that's it. Kill them all. And Saul's men said, no, I'm not going to do that. And Saul's men were doing anything for him. Right? Watch what happens. Verse 18. Then the king said to Doeg, you do it. So Doeg the Edomite turned on them and killed them all. That day, 85 priests in all, still wearing their priestly garments. Then he went to Nob, the town of the priests, and killed all the priests' families, men, women, children, and babies, all the cattle, donkeys, sheep, and goats. Only Abiathar, one of the sons of Ahimelech, escaped and fled to David. When he told David that he had killed the priests of the Lord, David exclaimed, I knew it. When I saw Doeg the Edomite that day, I knew he would tell Saul, now I have caused the death of all your father's family. Did he cause the death of all his family? Yes, he did. There was a penalty, not just for his lies, but for doing what he was not supposed to do, which was eating the showbread. Everyone died because of it. Because of deception, people lost their life. Listen, while we may think, well, my lie is not going to cause anyone in their life, here's the problem. It causes them to not trust you, to not believe in you. I've had people that say, well, if Christians lie, then why would in the world do I want to be a Christian? Think about that statement. If I can't trust the people that I'm supposed to be able to trust, why in the world would I want to join that group? They're just a bunch of nuts. May that not be what people say about us. May they be able to say about us, listen, I may not agree with everything they think, but I know they will always speak truth. They will always love. Deception destroys. When you lie, you deceive others, you deceive yourself, and it affects everyone around you. Deception is really misplaced trust. If I tell the truth, I'll get into trouble. I'll cause pain, and I don't want that. Listen, the goal of temptation is to get you to trust something other than God. 1 John 2:16. For the world offers only a craving of physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, the pride in our possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from this world. Now, look, I want you to understand this parallel here. God says, I want you to trust me. And I put a little chart there in your notes. God says, I want you to trust me. I want you to trust me for provision, your physical needs, for protection, your personal safety, and power, your desires. I want you to trust me in those things. Trust me that I will take care of you. Now, I want you to look at this because this is a little parallel here. Jesus was tested in these three ways. Feed yourself, throw yourself from the temple, and worship me and I'll give you everything you want. David's attempted the same way. The holy bread, Goliath's sword, and political asylum. Temptation throws at us all kinds of things, and what we have to do is trust God that He will take care of all my needs. I don't have to worry about them. Trust God that He will protect me. And trust God that I don't have to go after what I want, because here's the truth. When you want what God wants, listen to me, when you want what God wants, you will get what you want. If you want what you want, and understand the mentality here, if I go after what I want, I'm moving on my own power, my own strength, my own thing, and that may not be what God desires for me. And I will fight against God for that. But when I want what God wants, think about this, when my passion and desires are lined up with God, I will always get that. Because that's why God says, and some of us take this verse out of context, ask anything in my name and you'll receive it. What's he talking about? He's not saying, hey, I want a new car. Okay, that's not what he means. When my desires line up with God's desires, when my focus is him and I'm going after God, guess what? My desires, God's desires are aligned, and therefore I can walk in God's provision and protection. John 8:31. Jesus said to the people who believed in him, you are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings. And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Listen, when you deceive others, when you have to tell a story, when you have to elaborate, here's what really happens. You really are handcuffing yourself, and you're becoming a slave to sin. And Jesus says, when you operate in truth, when you focus on truth, when you live in truth, what happens is you're free. For those of us who've maybe told a little fib before, you're handicapped by what you told, the story you told, and you have to try to keep playing that story in your mind. And you have to worry, and you have to fear. Oh no, what if somebody finds out? What if somebody, and all these thoughts go through your mind, right? I know none of you have ever done that. But when I tell the truth, there's freedom. I don't have to worry because I'm standing on truth. This morning, here's what I'd like to do. I want to give you an opportunity, one, to respond, and for God to continue to work in our hearts. Listen, we all have our hang-ups, our hurts, our habits. And our goal should be as Christians is this. I'm going to work towards getting rid of those so I can operate in the freedom that God gives me. So you might say, Pastor Jason, I've never accepted Christ in my heart today. I've never given my life to him. I've never asked for forgiveness of my mistakes. If that's you this morning, would you stand up and come forward this morning? I want to pray with you. Listen, if you'll do it, I know people are like, well, that's embarrassing. No, it's not. This is the greatest celebration you could ever do. The Bible says when you do this, the angels in heaven celebrate. And if you can't do it in front of people who love God, try doing that tomorrow at work or at school. But if there's anyone here this morning that says, I need to ask forgiveness. I need to ask God to change my life. If that's you this morning, just come forward right now. I want to pray with you. Okay. Here's the next question. You say, Pastor Jason, I got some things to work on. There's some issues in my life. Maybe it's about honesty. Maybe it's about operating in truth. Maybe you want to be a trustworthy person and you look back and you're like, I don't even know if my parents can trust me, my friends can trust me, but I want to change. I want to make a change in my life. I want to be different. I want to be a person that is honest. If that's you this morning, I want you to stand up and just come up front. We're going to spend just a few moments praying together. Why do we do this? Because when you come forward, it's making a step of faith, saying, I believe I'm going to act out in what I know to be true. If that's you this morning, you say, this is something I got to deal with. Listen, don't be dishonest and sit there. Start with truth. Okay. Something else. Maybe there's something else going on in your life. Something you want prayer for. Maybe God's speaking in your heart. Maybe you have a friend who doesn't know God. Maybe something last week we talked about has been working on your heart this week. And maybe you just want to spend just a moment with God. Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to sing a part of a song. And then we'll pray and dismiss. But if you would like to just take a moment this morning and pray and seek God, then I'm going to invite you just to stand right now where you are. Come forward and let's spend some time in the presence of the Lord before we dismiss.